hoping a child will die.
Live from Studio 1396, Columbus, Ohio. This is the Late Lap, broadcasting over 100,000 watts of all-American electricity. And when it comes to all-American things and all-American racing and all-American cars, I think that we've got them all here tonight. This one's a little alarming because if you've known me, I've spent years in the racing paddocks. Some of you know me from the oval track. It's no secret. Many of you may know me if you're watching this show from straight line drag racing. I've worked with legends, watched records fall, smelled enough burnt clutch to recognize the scent in my sleep. But I consider myself no expert, perhaps an educated fan, maybe a reporter gone rogue. The truth is, I just love it. And I like to have fun. And a really respected reporter asked me in Norwalk, he said, you like to say things people aren't willing to talk about. And if he watches this video, and maybe he won't, he was right. I won't use his name today. But it's not that I love or hate anything. It's that I want to get the truth out there. And a lot of this has been about, here on Late Lap, saying things that people are not willing to say. Tonight on the Late Lap, I'm taking you behind the scenes at National Trail Raceway. First of all, the National Trail Raceway, a racetrack of 70 years of history. The Spring Nationals were held here in Central Ohio, my hometown, for many, many moons. It's been an IHRA track. It's been an NHRA prestigious Wally-winning track. For a long time, people come out here. And I want to start right there. The National Trail Raceway. Oftentimes, especially the closer you live to Central Ohio, the locals, we call it trails. It's a slur. We throw the S on it. It's cool. It's hip. It's National Trails or the Trails. I went to trails. And it doesn't matter how many years you or your friends and family come here, you never really realize there's no S on National Trail Raceway. We went over to National Trail Raceway several days last week here at Late Lap, and Mr. Daryl Kittle is the new owner of the IHRA National Trail Raceway and several other racetracks here in the Midwest and in the South. And his company, Darana, I heard it both ways. I'm sorry, Daryl. Darana Raceway is the new name of National Trail, as well as several other drag strips, all playing home to the 2025 IHRA Nitro Outlaw Championship Series. And National Trail will probably always be what it's remembered as, but similar to some of the facilities in oval racing, of course, there was Lowe's. Some people still called it Concord. Some people still called it Charlotte, but for the better part of 15 years, it was called Lowe's Motor Speedway. This will serve as a marketing partnership, a branding effort of the IHRA and Daryl's businesses. It's a great idea, but it's going to be weird, and it'll take a long time for any of us to remember to call it that. So for the sake of the audience who may be out of the know or maybe not following IHRA, it's National Trail Raceway, the historic name of the track, and Darana Raceway, the new name of the drag strip in Central Ohio. We're talking full top fuel fields, funny cars with something to prove, rain-soaked grandstands packed with fans who never left, and a sanctioning body that showed up with ice, meals, and purpose. Now, when I say a full field, I'm not referring to 30 or 20 dragsters that are fighting for 16 spots, but I am referring to a good half dozen competitive race cars or more in every class ready to prove themselves. This isn't a sideshow. It includes it, but it's not nostalgia. This was the return of what was once one of the most intimidating and prestigious forms of drag racing in the world. And frankly, it may become that again. I've got thoughts, lots of them mostly good. Good evening, racers, rowdies, real ones, and those of you who are still using the IHRA as a punchline. Tonight's truth is personal. Now, I love the NHRA. After many years of chasing dreams in autosport, I found them in the NHRA. I love them, and I really do. I've spent the better part of the last 5 years embedded in that sport, so you won't hear me say anything poor about the promotion that I am such great friends with. The people, their culture, the chaos in the pit, the smell of the nitro. NHRA has been the top of the mountain and the big show for a very long time. That is not what tonight's video is about. If that's what you're looking for, go ahead and turn off the channel. The name that's been on the banners, though, this weekend, and the posters and jackets here in Central Ohio often still said IHRA before, during, and after NHRA's reign in Columbus. And for the return of IHRA's Outlaw Nitro Series at National Trail Raceway, I'll admit it, my expectations were relatively low. Not because I wanted them to fail, but because I've seen enough reboots, revivals, and "We're back" press releases in my life to know most of them end up more sizzle than steak. But now, after what I witnessed firsthand, I was dead wrong. And I want you to know exactly why. It started the moment I parked. I've been to hundreds of races: NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula, IMSA, GT, Monster Jam, Robbie Gordon's Super Truck Series, NHRA, IHRA, World of Outlaw, go-karting. This is the first time I've ever been handed a golf cart for the weekend just for showing up. Did you hear me? They just gave it to every member of the media. I didn't pull any strings. I didn't flash some badge saying I'm entitled. It wasn't laminated in gold. I was just handed the keys. Go wherever you need, they said. Let us know what else you need, and if you need any ice. And speaking of, I want to tell you something about that ice. It was hot. It was very hot. It was what you see in Richmond. It was what you see in Kansas. Here in the Buckeye State, it was hot. And Daryl Cattell, the owner of IHRA, was up at 7 a.m. hand delivering ice bags, offering water, and checking in on every single team by himself. I'm not joking. I watched it happen. No clipboard, no PR photographer, no stunt, nobody else driving around a John Deere tractor all over the campground by himself, just checking in with people. Just him walking those pits, checking in, dropping off ice like a racing Santa Claus in mid-July. That's leadership. That's old school. That's personal accountability. This isn't the CEO hanging out in the suite kind of weekend. It was leadership on foot. And every racer I talked to noticed it. Let's talk about those racers. Not just the stars. Every single racer and crew member and media member got meals. If you show up, you get fed. If you wrench a car until 2 a.m. trying to get your car back together, you still get fed. You're not chasing down a food truck or the McDonald's at the pilot station down the highway for a $19 pulled pork sandwich. They took care of the teams. They took care of their staff, their workers, and their guests, and they meant it. And I know you may be thinking, that's not a big deal. No, it's a huge deal. Because that kind of care sets the tone. It sets the tone for the entire first-time event. It tells you the people running this event are thinking more than just the ticket sales. And before we continue, I'm not going to pretend that this thing sat 60,000 fans. The promotion is a better story than how many tickets did they sell. Those numbers will be there, and soon. They were just thinking about every person that walked in, no matter how many were there. It was not a return of racing, it was a return of respect. Some of my friends in NHRA or NASCAR or IndyCar may watch this. I don't get the attitude that they all tune in every week. God knows I don't watch all of my friends' shows every week. But if any of you do, understand, finally, I won't mention it a third time. These are not jabs on you. These are great compliments to the IHRA. And it carried over into the way people treated each other. You know how many times I heard the phrase from IHRA staff, volunteers, even fans say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And not the throwaway version, like when you pass a rich white guy at the bank. I'm talking real, look you in the eye, slow down and listen energy. In a motorsport where everyone's racing against the damn clock, it was like people had time for each other again. And that brings me to the part I didn't expect. This didn't feel like the revival of a broken league. This felt like a hometown comeback with real investment behind it. Let me explain. On one hand, the entire weekend felt like a family-owned event. The kind where the guy in charge knows every crew chief's nickname, where volunteers bring extra beer and even more bug spray just because, and where you can see the same guy push a broom 1 hour and handing out trophies the next. I met one of the public address announcers, Derek, and many of you know his work. I shared with him that we've not crossed paths. I wasn't familiar, but I took a mental note of his duties. He spent a lot of time on the microphone, but it's seemingly more time in the tractor and the ATV as he personally led so many of the track preparation works. This is a family event, I said. It's the kind where they know everybody. They push the drone. They hand out trophies. But at the exact same time, this was not a backyard operation. This was polished, organized, funded, and executed. From the signage to the schedule to the live broadcast, it felt oftentimes all on point. There were key moments where they were not on topic, but they can fix them. The production didn't feel like someone's cousin was running cameras off an iPad, or like, well, I won't say Mr. Buck's name. It felt like a TV quality event, streamed live on IHRA TV with great graphics like our friends out west do. It was great. It had graphics, segments, commentary. The two Christians in the pit really knew their shit. And commentary, they rivaled the other guys. They did great. Of course, I say every week how great the team at NHRA does. They did great. I watched people, from racers to fans to crew members, respond all in real time. Texts from wonderful champion and Hall of Fame racers that, because of stigmas, can't talk about this event publicly, are texting and telling you, "Did you see it? Are you there? AJ, did you see it?" We all saw it, and we all know you guys were watching too. Especially because unlike the Pro Superstar Shootout, this one was free to anybody that wanted to enjoy a great all-American weekend of drag racing. There was real time, real pride. There was joy, And there was that rare, priceless expression you see when people realize, oh shit, they are really doing this and doing it right. It reminded me of how a country fair and a concert tour can somehow happen in the same space. Like someone finally figured out how to bring back the charm of old school drag racing without sacrificing production quality that we all expect in auto sport in 2025. So yeah, I came into the weekend thinking this might be cute. It's in my backyard, I might as well go. Maybe even admirable because they had some great drivers on the entry list. Instead, it was legitimate. I'm not talking about gimmicks, I'm talking about, well, for IHRA standards, it was solid. For all forms of drag racing, it was fucking solid. I'm talking about a weekend that had Top Fuel shaking the bleachers, funny cars launching side by side in the Ohio sun, and VP Racing Fuels announcing a major partnership right in front of a loyal, weather-tasted crowd who never once left the stands, even when the skies turned. And I'll get into all of that in the next segment. The racing, the crowd, the fuel deal, the return of National Trail to the Nitro ranks. But before we shift gears, here's what I want you all to know. Again, not a flashback, not a throwback, and it wasn't a sideshow. It was real drag racing in its purest form, with drivers of all ages and all demographics chasing championship points, opportunity, and legacy to hold the first Ironman of the new era of the International Hot Rod Association, brought back to life by people who clearly give a damn. And if you're still laughing at the idea of IHRA making a comeback, you clearly did not make it to Ohio this weekend. Because for all the praise I just gave to the hospitality, leadership, and logistics, it doesn't mean a thing if the cars don't show up. If the product on the track isn't good, then all the ice and meal tickets in the world don't matter. Good news. The product was excellent. Top Fuel loud, brutal, fast, funny car, sharp, intense, competitive. And yeah, maybe old AJ talks too much about Nitro, but you know that's what I've been around forever. Scott Palmer won in Nitro, but he drives everything. I think he's licensed in more cars than Tony Stewart and Juan Montoya combined. The man who's practically the patron saint of outlaw drag racing. He came through with a 395 with an 8 at 314 mile an hour to win the first IHRA Top Fuel final of the new era. Krista Baldwin, who we absolutely adore, clearly no slouch herself, was right there in a side-by-side battle, a 412 at the line, down at 293 at the end of the run. They were side-by-side all the way down the track, and for a moment, the stands forgot everything else. It was old school, pure, and loud. I do see old Dave W's comment, no points this year. That's a fair point, okay? That is a fair point. Still not exhibition racing. These are real races that are part of this sport's legacy, lore, and history. But for clarification, Dave does bring a great point. By the way, Dave W., who I've had the great privilege of knowing in the last few years. I've never learned how to say his last name because he's Dave W., now involved in stat and record keeping, archiving, history, and supporting the broadcast at Speed Sport 1. That's Ralph Shaheen's deal. You can watch Speed Sport 1 and 2 on the internet. If it's drag racing coverage, you can follow them at IHRA.tv. And if you have a Roku or nearly any smart device, type in Speed Sport 1 and you will see the broadcast. Dave, very clearly a big part of the numbers game and fact-checking the rule books. He knows his shit. Glad you're here tonight, Dave. In regards to Palmer, he said it himself. He said, I've been driving like a beginner all weekend. But when it mattered, he stepped up. And he delivered. I asked him in post-race, See, Bobby Bennett's team, the Power Hour, welcomed me to promote Late Lap earlier this year and co-host an episode with the great Monday morning racer Lee Kraft and our guest, Scott Palmer. And he told me that night, this year, cover your ears, kids. I'm going to fucking have fun. I couldn't help but ask him formally, Scotty, are you fucking having fun? And he said, not only was he having fun, but this shit was real. Goodness, this show turned awfully adult, didn't it? Then you had Mike McIntire Jr. in the funny car, driving that beautiful orange Toyota Camry funny car. If you're a fan of match racing in Michigan and Indiana and Ohio, you've seen that orange beast. But it's been a couple years. Mike Sr. passed, and they haven't had that car out there. His first hit was qualifying here at National Trail. He talked about it, and he said, yeah, it's weird, but I'm glad I'm back. I said, as far as his career moments, rank it. He says, winning the funny car class at IHRA was the number one accomplishment of his on-track career. He was a man that was on a mission. He qualified number one. He made every round count. And when it came time to face Del Worsham, he himself an IHRA world champion, two-time NHRA champ, he nailed it with an 0:20 reaction time and laid down a 4:16 at 293. Del came hard with a 4:16 as well, but a hole shot. McIntire's light made the difference. And then on the top end, after the win, he dedicated the race to old Papa Bear. He didn't scream. He didn't flex. He just stood there, choked up a little, and said, this is for my dad. We did this together. That's what the IHRA is tapping into right now. Real emotion, real people, real racing. And I want to say this part loud and clear. The IHRA.TV broadcast was just as professional as the event itself. Cameras were clean, graphics were sharp, angles were dynamic. It didn't feel like the pro shootout. It felt like NHRA TV. There was so many similarities to a great event compared to an okay event. They brought their A game, fans noticed, and of course Ralph Shaheen, former NHRA and drag racing reporter. He's covered NASCAR, open wheel, dirt racing. He's the chair over at the AMA Hall of Fame here in Central Ohio. A true great, and somebody that it would take a hell of a set of balls to tell him he's wrong about things. I watch people scroll the app midday just to catch replays. I overheard a father in the bleachers explaining the brackets to his son on his phone. Now, live timing was not available. IHRA insists that live timing will come out. It's a development. But their social media team did provide updates throughout the day and often. That modern racing was done right. And while we absolutely expect that live timing, replays, a great social media is part of these games, if you were there and you faced the challenge of who's at the top? Where's the timing sheet? Is there a leaderboard? Where's the big bright neon lights? Okay, there's room for improvement right there. A big room for improvement, but it's happening and I'm certain of it. But in the moment, it felt so old school, it didn't even bother you. Because you were, instead of dicking around on your phone all day, you checked it from time to time and you enjoyed the men and women who put their lives on the line, both the safety convoy as well as the racers and crews, to entertain you and attempt to break world records. And let's be honest, it would have been easy to call the event a success if it just had a few good passes, but this was more than just good passes. This was heart and pride and, oh yeah, the stands. Now, they didn't stay full, but they stayed loyal. Hundreds of fans, maybe thousands were there, and they just hung out. It literally flooded at one point during a 2.5-hour stretch of rain as a massive cell and 45-mile-an-hour winds came through, according to the National Weather Service. And the fans, they went to the campground. They went to the midway. They went to their cars. and some stayed in the bleachers. They just stayed. I lived here in town and wanted to go home at times because it beats you up. The rain, the cold, the wind, the darkness. And they stayed. We work a bigger event at times and they'll go. But this one was special and they knew it was history. That's loyalty. That's community. Midway through the weekend, while the nitro was cooling and the track crew reset the groove, the IHRA made some official news. VP Racing Fuels is now the exclusive fuel provider of the IHRA, not a symbolic gesture. Massive deal here. VP is the name in performance racing fuel. Their logo will be everywhere. You saw it in Winner's Circle. It's already on the dirt ovals, the drag strips, Baja off-road trucks. Of course, they replaced Sunoco and the National Hot Rod Association this year. And this isn't we partnered with a guy who sells ethanol out of his garage. This is a global brand putting their stamp on IHRA's comeback. And they were the official fuel and the most recent era of the International Hot Rod Association's American presence. Of course, the IHRA is unusual. If you call us the Americans the book, Morris in Australia, who owns the IHRA Australia division, claims they are just a chapter. But he didn't say that in any kind of derogatory way. He just meant the history is here, the racing is there. They continue while we had a little bit of a hiatus. The VP Racing deal is money, it's credibility, and it's a signal to sponsors, teams, and fans alike that this is no side project for their brand. This is a sanctioning body they believe they can respect with serious traction. If you need another sign of how real this revival is, National Trail is officially back to Nitro. It's been 19 years since the last Nitro passed at this track. That sentence alone makes longtime Ohio fans decide if they want to smile, laugh, cry, or tear. It's a facility with real legacy. A place where so many dreams have launched and where so many goodbyes have been said. There was a time when you couldn't imagine a summer without fireballs lighting up in the Hebron sky. My good friend Darren Williams Jr. tells me every day how much he dreamt of going to the Spring Nationals here in Central Ohio. And now it's back. Nitro is back. The IHRA is back. And the two just rekindled something special. So let's bring it home. First of all, while old AJ does cover oftentimes the pro classes, the Nitro, the pro stock, the pro mods were there too. And if you don't follow the sport, but you follow the fanfare, Disco Dean drove his TA. It was a 76 steel body. He told me at one point, he said, slap the shit out of it. And I said, no. I said, what do those bodies run? And he reminded this ignorant fan, hey, those are real. I said, no way. He said, those are real. And I did. I slapped the shit out of that car, and it is tough. I had no idea. And so now you may not either. It was definitely really, really cool. And in addition to all the great sportsman racers, all of the great semi-pro, amateur, professional, and drivers like Larry Morgan, who came out of retirement, lots of great things happened. We did see crashes, too. We saw Marvin Blaney end up with an unusual detonation of a motor, and an entire community in and out of the IHRA surround him with love, comfort, and prayers. And Old Late Lap certainly offers him the same. When you see the best and the worst of a drag strip, all in a matter of 5 or 6 days, you have the opportunity to take that data and calculate it and think about it. And as the great Sarah Brown once told me, savor it and put a letter U when you spell savor. And you know how I left this weekend? I left convinced. This wasn't the hobbies This wasn't the meetups. I go to those. I'm going to be at the Monster Mopar shows this year. I'm going to go to the Super Chevy shows. They're great, but they're really nostalgia cosplay. They're, hey, remember us? Remember exhibition racing? My two great uncles, they may be watching tonight. Love them. They taught me so much about cars and racing. One's got a Pontiac Le Mans, and one of them has a Nova. These cars mean the world to me and our family. They're cool. They're bitchin' rides. Best friend Kyle Turner, him and his family treat me like that. Bunch of Dodge guys. They've got Darts and Challengers and Durangos, all Hemi, of course. Old AJ proudly drives Ford, always has and always will. Doesn't matter who's paying the checks. Love me a Ford car. And that's what's really cool about this stuff. Car loyalty is still there. My notes are gone, folks. I'm just talking from the heart. When you go to a drag race, the men and women who walk through the gate, they look and they find a car, a man or a woman, to root for, and they pull for them all night. And vicariously, they watch that car all weekend until they lose or win, and it reminds them of their hot rod. Whether it's a front engine, four-wheel drive, whatever, or an all-wheel drive, or a V6, or a four-banger, whether it's an American or a Euro or an import, doesn't matter. Everybody loves cars. If you've made it this far in tonight's show, you love cars too. This wasn't the weekend of nostalgia where we celebrate our love for cars. It was a weekend with a damn good drag race that also had the love for cars. But when you go to Monster Mopar, it doesn't matter if the race is good because you're there at the campground drinking brewskis, real American style, and you're going home at the end of the weekend, win, lose, or draw. This one, it was all of those feelings, but it was still competition. It was a damn good one. It was run by good people, driven by passionate teams, watched by loyal fans all over the world on the broadcast. Broadcasted as close to a national event as they could. And if you've been to one of those folks, if you've been one of the folks who's ignored the IHRA since the old days or worse, crack jokes about the initial standing for, well, we've heard the jokes. It's time to change your tune because this thing is moving. Daryl Cattell, the track team before and now the new team of National Trail Raceway, they've made it so that this thing is gorgeous. And I'd rather be in the front seat now than watch it pass me by later. To the teams, the fans, the families, and yes, to the people working their asses off behind the scenes at the IHRA, many people owe you an apology. You now have their attention. You have won over the respect of many, and I assure you, you have my return ticket. You know, sometimes we walk into a race weekend thinking we've seen it all. We've been around the block. We know what's real and what's smoke and mirrors. But every once in a while, something surprises you. Something reminds you why you fell in love with this sport in the first place. Why when a beautiful woman in a beautiful race car walk by, us guys 6 times out of 10 will look at the car. It's the noise, the grit, the family, the fire. And this weekend at Darana Raceway, IHRA didn't just return, they proved something. They proved that professional drag racing still feels personal. They proved that grassroots spirit doesn't mean a garage sale production, and that when you put people first, the racing will follow. As I said at the start of the show, I came in skeptical, but I left with respect. And if the momentum keeps building, things are going to be wild. There's new noise in the pits, and today, a week after the great Ozzy Osbourne performed his final show, The men and women who won IHRA races hold a trophy called an Ironman. Thank you all if you made that happen. You're still the reason that the sport lives. I'll be back again real soon to continue talking about the automobile, drag racing, stock car racing, dirt racing, car shows, cars of the day. But tonight was special. It was really, really cool. And I hope that next time you're in Michigan watching these bitchin' cars run, because this place isn't going anywhere. As I say at the end of every great show, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Smile, be happy, and until then, take care. And to our friends in the South, sea amable consigo mismo. Sea amable con otros. Sonría, sea feliz. Hasta entonces, cuídese. Good night.